The Inferior Five are Dumb Bunny, White Feather, Awkward Man, Blimp, and Merry Man, and they see an old lady getting mugged. They jump to the rescue, only to be mistaken for dangerous masked men and get beaten up by the old lady. We're reading every Spider-Man ever, and this is Inferior 5, Issue 7, Drainy Day. The old lady's mugger gets away, and the Inferior 5 chase him down into the sewers. Down there, a salesman offers a tour or some scenic postcards, but there's no time. There's a criminal to catch. They're interrupted in their chase by a flying hammer, which hits Awkward Man on the head. It belongs to Thor, God of Thunder, who the Inferior 5 met a few issues back. Thor has signed a contract with a man named Stanley, who wants a completely different look. And so, with the help of the salesman from before, who happens to have all the barber equipment they need, the Inferior 5 give him a shave and a bleach, so he's a whole new man. As the Inferior 5 progress further into the sewers, they meet more familiar faces. When they're trapped in a room which gets flooded with water, they're rescued by the Submoron, who's looking for Thor. They're told by Allergy Queen, a detective who is allergic to superheroes, and a reference to Ellery Queen, that a mastermind is plotting in the sewers, but his informant is turned to dust before he can reveal the mastermind's name. Allergy Queen is also allergic to dust. And when the team is trapped by metal poles coming out of the walls, they're rescued by Iron Pants, who is also looking for Thor. The Inferior 5 keep wandering the sewers, lost, and bumping into cameo after cameo after cameo, eventually running into the most important cameo of all, the Cobweb Kid, with his own theme song, Cobweb Kid, Cobweb Kid, does whatever a spider did. He's standing on the ceiling until the Inferior 5 point it out, and then their worldview turns and they crash to the ground. Their adventures in the sewers eventually lead them to a giant octopus whose grabby nature reminds Dumb Bunny of her ex-boyfriends, and they fall through a secret door to find a banquet filled with people. Dead people. Because everyone here is dead. But who did it? As per tradition, they gather into a study, and Allergy Queen reveals who the murderer is. The murderer is... and then he is zapped and turned to dust, allergic to himself. But the Inferior 5 spotted the culprit. It was the old lady from the start, and she reveals herself to be Dr. Diabolical. He traps our heroes in glass containers. His plan is to siphon the best parts of them. Merry Man's intellect, Blimp's flying power, Awkward Man and Bunny's strength, and White Feather's archery skill into Muggsy, the mugger from the beginning. Remember him? But the machine is set up wrong, and it takes the Inferior 5's worst parts instead. White Feather's lack of courage, Blimp's slow speed, Dumb Bunny's intelligence, Awkward Man's agility, and Merry Man's strength. And now the Inferior 5 don't have any of those weaknesses, and they bravely and intelligently break out of their glass prisons, defeat all the bad guys, and destroy the machine, which returns them to normal, while Dr. Diabolical escapes in an ejector seat. Back on the surface, the Inferior 5 bump into a familiar old lady, Dr. Diabolical in disguise, and so they beat her up, only to learn that she's a real old lady, and Cobweb Kids aren't. Thanks for watching and joining me on this journey. Next week, Peter Parker beats up an old man. But while we wait for that issue, here's a fun fact about this one. Like me, you probably didn't know who Ellery Queen is and therefore didn't really understand the joke reference. Ellery Queen was a fictional detective who starred in 40 novels between 1929 and 1971 and appeared in 3 different TV shows. He also had his own crime magazine and is now almost completely forgotten. There's a lesson there somewhere.